missed you at lunch.
I had to go into town.
Listen, don't ask me how I did it, but I got 2 tickets to the concert this Saturday. What's the matter?
This Saturday's Mike's birthday.
Oh, yeah, Mike.
Well, hey, maybe I could cut out early.
You know, he's really a tough act to follow, isn't he?
What's that supposed to mean?
What do you think it means?
Oh, wow.
Listen, I thought he was supposed to marry your mother.
He is.
Well, then why is he always hanging around you?
Hey, you know, you're really out of your tree.
I don't like him.
So you finally blurted it out.
I'm not blurting it out. I'm telling you cool and easy, there's something going on between you and him.
I don't have to listen to any of this.
Hey, you two, cool it, will you? You're undermining my stereotype of the new generation. You all right, Kim?
Yeah, I'm fine. Really.
Well, you can't say young people these days aren't open about their feelings.
Remind me to wear a sign. Stop butting in, Hayes.
Could go out and come in again.
Oh, Danny, hello.
Frida.
Welcome.
Thank you. Is it always this tense around here, or did I pick an unusually busy day to start work?
No, you should see us someday when we're relaxed. Hey, listen, you don't happen to know an 8-letter word that means in great demand?
Great demand, 8 letters, bachelor.
I don't think you're awake yet. I'm going to get you a cup of coffee.
That fits.
Jess, you want some coffee? Jess.
Oh, no thanks.
He talks.
Oh, Danny, how you doing?
Hi, Jess.
Say, Betty Grayson called from the Herald. She wanted some background information on you. You know, on your becoming a member of Marshall and Associates.
A Stars Born type thing, huh?
Right.
And what'd you tell her?
Well, the usual, that you were born in Brooklyn and how
the
old
Bronx.
you are. The Bronx. And you graduated with honors from NYU.
Columbia.
Columbia. Well, you better call her back.
Is she cute?
She's adorable.
She's big and fat.
Well, maybe I've met her set up some sort of meeting. Like these things to be accurate. Where's Mr. Marshall?
He's over at Nancy Hodges.
Who, babe?
A friend of his, Babe. And I gotta go home and pack. I'm off to Palm Springs.
Poolside?
Perjury.
Good tea.
Owen, you better prepare yourself for a shock. Nancy and I are going to be married.
So you finally collared her.
Collared her, my eye. I've been chasing that man for over 5 years.
Listen to that.
It's true.
Beautiful.
I'm a shameless woman.
Why don't these things ever happen to me?
Who could ever chase a man who's always in court?
Now she tells me.
Now, not to change the subject. Is there any beer in the house?
Oh, yes, I bought some yesterday.
Owen,
Fine.
be right back.
Think he's likely to change his mind?
You seem pretty shaky to me.
You know, I feel silly, like a schoolgirl. I giggle a lot. I'm sure Kim thinks I'm crazy.
Have you told her yet?
No, I haven't seen her since this morning. She knows, though. She's very fond of Mike. She has been ever since she met him.
All right, you two. Break it up.
Ah.
And the best is yet to come.
I'll drink to that.
Cheers.
Excuse me.
Mrs. Hodges,
Yes.
I'm Lieutenant McKay.
What is it?
I'm sorry. Your daughter, Kim.
Yes?
Her body was found in Mr. Benson's boathouse. Apparently a homicide victim. I'm sorry, Mr. Hodges. I have a few more questions, but we can go over that tomorrow.
I think that would be best.
Right.
Do they have any idea who might have done it?
No, not yet. Lab's going over the evidence now. We did find a contact lens at the crime scene. Your daughter didn't wear contact lenses, did she, Mrs. Hodges?
No.
Lieutenant, I'm not sure, but that lens may be mine.
Oh?
I gave it to Kim this morning to take to my optometrist for an adjustment. When I picked up Nancy, the optometrist is right across the street from the campus.
Wouldn't she have been carrying it in a plastic container? I mean, that's the way my wife carries hers.
I guess I just lost mine. I wrapped it up in a piece of tissue paper. Excuse me.
Did they find anything else?
No. Just a pocketbook. And a book on Elizabethan poetry.
Melissa?
Oh, hi, Daddy. I didn't hear you come in.
You look unhappy. Must be algebra.
I don't know. I just can't seem to concentrate.
Do you feel like talking about it?
I was just thinking about Kim and camp. Last summer, she was my counselor. Daddy, how can such a thing happen?
I don't know the answer to that one. I'm not sure there is one.
There has to be.
Are you afraid?
No. Yes. I don't know.
Would it help any if I told you that the chances of such a thing happening are extremely remote?
But they do happen.
Yes, they happen.
I'm sorry.
Nothing to feel sorry about. Oh, it's part of being human to be afraid and confused at times. I'd be a lot more worried if you weren't.
Do you ever feel that way? Afraid, I mean?
Of course I do. Hey, is there any of that cake left that you brought home from school?
There's plenty of cake, but
Yeah?
I think I had most of the icing.
Come on, we'll split the difference.
I suppose she spent a lot of time here.
Yes.
Alone?
I don't think I follow your line of questioning, Lieutenant.
Well, I'm sorry if it makes you uncomfortable.
And it doesn't make me uncomfortable. Yes, she sometimes came here. Alone.
Many times?
No, not many times. Only when something was troubling her, if she had a problem.
Kim never knew her father, Lieutenant. She'd come to look upon Mike as a substitute father.
Did she ever spend the night here?
Now, just a minute, Lieutenant.
Mr. Benson, I realize these questions are upsetting, but I'm afraid I have to ask them. Did Kim ever spend the night alone with you?
Lieutenant, those questions are upsetting me. And the answer is no. She didn't spend the night with me alone. Ever! Absolutely not!
Well, just one more question for the record, sir. Where were you this afternoon?
Mike and I spent the entire afternoon at the marina.
Oh, you didn't go to work?
I'm a real estate broker, Lieutenant. I pick and choose my own hours. Besides, today was a rather special day.
Oh?
I asked Nancy to marry me.
Oh, I see. Mr. Benson, do you know a Miss Elizabeth Flood?
Yeah, she worked for me for years. Why do you ask?
Well, she seems to have some very strong feelings about you and Kim.
Now, what kind of feelings, Lieutenant?
Well, according to Miss Flood, you and Kim had intimate relations.
Been second guess yourself to death, but there's no way of predicting what's running through Charlie Giannetta's mind. We'll know soon enough. Mike, do you have any idea why Elizabeth Flood made up the story she did?
You know, that's what's so incredible. She was a very, very loyal woman. I mean, almost to a fault.
When did she leave you?
About a month ago.
Did she say why?
I told her that I was thinking of getting married, and I guess she felt she couldn't handle another person's way.
Do you think it could have been jealousy?
Don't you think that would have surfaced before now, after 9 years?
How's Nancy taking it?
Nancy's Nancy. She knows me, and I guess she knew her daughter.
Mr. Benson, you have any idea what your blood type is?
Why, is that important?
Yeah, it could be.
Say B.
Charlie.
Owen, we just received the coroner's report. Death was caused by a mid-lateral skull fracture, either the result of being struck or by falling against a blunt object. There's also evidence that Kim Hodges was sexually assaulted before she was murdered. Blood samples and skin tissue were found underneath her fingernails.
What type blood sample?
AB. It's common to less than 10% of the population.
I don't know. Either you are in my nightmare or I'm in yours.
Mr. Benson, I know you went over some of this ground with Detective McKay. I have to go over it with you, too, unpleasant as that is. You say that you spent the entire day with Mrs. Hodges?
Yes, that's right.
At the marina?
Well, part of it at the marina, yeah.
What part of it, Mr. Benson?
In the afternoon, after lunch.
What time was that?
Oh, I don't... Between 1 and 3, I think.
Did you stop anywhere for coffee or for anything?
No, we just drove around.
For 2 hours?
Maybe it was less than 2 hours.
You also mentioned to Detective McKay that you gave Kimmy a contact lens wrapped in tissue paper?
Yes, that's right.
Well, you know, of course, there was no tissue paper found anywhere near the boathouse.
But don't you think it's conceivable that it just blew away? I mean, I really am not sure of anything anymore.
Mm-hmm. But you're sure that you weren't near the boathouse?
No. I mean, yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure that I was not at the boat.
Okay, all right. I want to thank you very much, Mr. Benson, for coming in today.
I don't quite understand. Does that mean I'm off the hook, or...?
Mike, I'll catch up with you in a few minutes.
All right.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, Charlie, where are you heading?
Where am I heading? I got a mess here. You know where I'm heading.
Spell it out for me.
Murder 1.
Oh, Charlie, you really should see someone about your fantasies.
You believe all that stuff about driving around the marina for 2 hours?
Yes, I do.
And the tissue paper that maybe or didn't blow away? Yeah, well, I don't. I don't believe any of it, not for a minute.
Charlie, answer this for me. Why would a man who was having intimate relations with that girl, as you said, suddenly rape her?
I don't know. Maybe they had a falling out when she found out he was going to marry her mother. Maybe she threatened to go ahead and tell her mother.
And these maybes add up to first-degree murder. Well, I mean, I may be old-fashioned or something, but show me some evidence. Show me a witness.
Look, a guy that goes around raping and murdering, he doesn't do it in front of a crowd, Owen.
Oh, that's swell. And I suppose they also don't go around advertising why they did it.
Well, we know why. He was having an affair with Kim Hodges.
According to Elizabeth Flood.
Right.
Charlie, even if that's true, and I don't believe for one moment that it is, that's a far cry from the crime that you're accusing her of.
Maybe it's not that far a cry. Suppose she was going to blow the whistle on him. Bear me out. We spoke to some of her teachers. One of them, a guy by the name of Hayes, Nelson Hayes. He said that she confided in him that she was afraid of Mike Benson, that she didn't want her mother to marry Mike Benson. Now, what does that suggest to you?
Obviously not as much as it does to you. Certainly not enough to destroy a man's life, because that's exactly what you're going to do.
Well, what do you want me to do? Pretend that none of this happened? That close my eyes and all these facts are going to disappear? Funeral today? About the only thing I can do is I'll wait till after the funeral before we serve the warrant.
Such a monstrous lie.
Owen, when did Elizabeth Flood stop working for Mike?
That's the first question I asked. Right after he told her he was going to marry Nancy.
A woman scorned.
Well, Mike swears no.
Would Mike know that?
It just seems so pat, doesn't it?
When you hear hoofbeats, don't look for zebras.
You hear hoofbeats?
She worked for him for 9 years. And then she left him when he told her that he was getting married. And another thing, why did she wait until now to spring that particular piece of information? Why didn't she tell Nancy Hodges right away? Could it be that when she heard about Kim's murder, that's when she got the idea?
I'll try to shake her up a little.
I was just getting to like the zebras.
We're still left with why Kim told Nelson Hayes that she was afraid of Mike.
You know, I don't think Charlie's going to be able to get that much mileage out of it. Especially if we can pull the rug out from under Elizabeth Flood.
Let's find out who else Kim knew and dated. And while we're at it, let's see if we can find out if there were any other incidents at the campus, reported or otherwise.
You think what happened to Kim might be part of a pattern?
It might be. If we can show that it wasn't an isolated case. Hello?
Owen? It's Charlie here. I thought you'd want to know this.
Yes?
We have found a witness, the caretaker at the lake. He said he saw Mike Benson at the boathouse before Kim was murdered. I'm sorry, Owen. Just thought you'd want to know, you know.
Yeah, Charlie. Thanks. I think I can understand why Nancy said what she did. I can even understand you're going along with it. But why didn't you tell me the truth later?
Owen, I don't know. I thought at the time it might be much less complicated not to mention it at all.
Well, suppose you tell me now what really happened.
That morning, I went to Nancy's place. Kim was there. I asked her to take my contact lens to my optometrist. When she left, I proposed.
Go on.
Then we talked for a while, and then Nancy had something to do, and I left.
Where'd you go?
Home. Fixed something to eat, read the paper, and then I called Nancy back again to pick her up. On the way, I stopped at the boathouse.
Because a few days ago I had lost a lighter and I thought it might be there.
What time is this?
I don't know. I would think around 2, something like that.
Did you see Kim as you were coming or going?
No.
Did you see anyone else?
No.
Gone.
Anyway, I rummaged around the boathouse and couldn't find the lighter. So I went back to Nancy's place.
From there?
As we have told you, we drove around the marina. Tell me something, Owen. Do you believe me?
Oh, I believe you. The question is whether a jury will.
John Boyd?
Yes?
My name's Danny Paterno. I'm representing Mike Benson.
So what else is new?
Well, that's what I'd like to find out from you.
I'm busy.
Hey, so am I, babe. Just want to ask you a question. How well do you know Mr. Benson?
Well enough.
I take it, you don't like him.
No, I don't like him. I loved Kim. I wanted to marry her. And he killed her.
What makes you so sure it was him?
Well, who else could it be? She was scared to death of him, only I wasn't bright enough to figure out why.
Did she ever tell you that?
She didn't have to. All he had to do was holler and she'd jump. Well, she was under his shadow, all right. It was always Mike this and Mike that.
Did anybody ever tell you that you talk out of both sides of your mouth?
You tell me something. Do you really believe he's innocent? He killed Kimmy. And I hope they burn him.
Well, let me ask you one question. Where were you the afternoon that Kim was killed?
Studying in my room. I told the police when they asked me, and I'm telling you now.
No, I hadn't heard that. Do you mind telling me where you did?
One of the teachers, Gavin Taylor, he said that the Robbins girl had transferred to another school after the incident.
I gather she didn't tell the police.
Apparently not.
Poor thing. Do you think there might be some connection between what happened to her and what happened to Kim?
Mr. Hayes, you knew them both?
Why, yes. But you couldn't have found 2 more dissimilar girls. And Fern Robbins was shy and withdrawn, and Kim was exactly the opposite. So alive and vital.
A happy person?
Yes. Of course, she had her good days and her bad days like everybody else.
And when she spoke to you about Mike Benson, that was one of her bad days?
She was disturbed, confused.
What did she say?
Well, something like, he frightened me, I'm afraid to be alone with him, I can't tell my mother, and then I've got to tell someone.
Did you ask her why she was so frightened?
Well, I started to, but she broke off, as if she were ashamed or guilty of having revealed so much. I suppose I should have pressed her, but I thought she'd come around on her own.
And what did you think of it?
Well, frankly, not a whole lot. I know Mike Benson. He sold me my house. I just didn't attach all that much importance to it. It just doesn't seem possible. I'm sure he'll be acquitted.
I hope so. In any case, thanks for seeing me.
Of course.
I checked with the police. There was no investigation.
Why?
Well, because there was nothing reported. Just a rumor I heard around campus.
When did Fern Robbins leave school?
Huh? Well, right after last semester. She moved back home to Los Angeles. I was thinking I might take a drive down there, huh?
How do you read this Professor Hayes?
Well, he's a good witness.
Yeah, Charlie seems to have a lot of them.
Any surprises?
He's asking Nancy Hodges to testify.
But she's bound to be sympathetic.
I'd feel better if I knew why she lied about being with Mike the entire day of the murder.
Well, maybe she thought she was protecting him.
Why did she think he needed protecting?
Mr. Paterno, I don't know how I can make it any clearer. Nothing happened to my daughter in Santa Barbara. She simply got a little homesick decided she wanted to be nearer her family. Now, if what you heard was true, don't you think I would have reported it to the police?
Well, a lot of people don't, Mr. Robbins. They feel it isn't worth the anguish and pain that an investigation of that nature sometimes brings.
Well, that's just not our style. Is it, honey?
But if what you heard were true, Mr. Paterno, how would it help Mr. Benson?
Well, at the least, it would show that what happened to Kim was not an isolated case. And conceivably, it could show a great deal more.
Daddy?
Now, I'll handle this, honey. I'm sorry, Mr. Paterno. We can't help you.
Are you sure, Mr. Robbins?
Please, leave us alone. It's over.
It's not over. Not for Mike Benson.
Well, I'm not my brother's keeper. I've got my own family to think of.
What are you afraid of, Mr. Robbins?
You. Your questions. Your meddling. Now, just leave us alone, that's all. Just leave us alone.
Is that how you feel, Fern? It could happen again, you know. Someone else. Someone else's girl.
But not to us.
Fred, don't you think it's time that...
One night after school, I had to go back to campus for a book. The building was deserted. I heard a sound. I was frightened. I ran. Then he cornered me up against the... But then he... No.
Mr. Paterno, this is not going to help your client.
Fern, did you recognize him?
No.
Look, if she should remember anything else...
Yes. Goodbye, Mr. Paterno.
Goodbye, Mr. Robbins.
Mrs. Hodges, what is your relationship to the defendant?
We're engaged to be married.
So that obviously you are much more than friends.
Yes.
Now, did your daughter feel the same way about Mr. Benson? By that I mean, did she share your feeling towards him?
Well, I don't know what you mean by feeling, but she was very fond of him.
In what way did this fondness manifest itself?
Your Honor.
I withdraw the question. This fondness you speak of, did you encourage it?
Well, yes. I wanted Kim to like Mike. I was hoping he would be the father that she'd never had.
So, in a way, you say that you helped nurture this feeling your daughter had for Mr. Benson.
You make it sound so awful.
Mrs. Hodges, I'm just trying to determine the nature of the relationship between your daughter and the defendant.
It was a good relationship.
So that you don't think, then, that in trying to draw them closer together, you may have created a climate that...
No.
Did your daughter ever spend time with Mr. Benson alone?
Yes.
Well, how much time?
I don't know. I didn't keep count.
I see.
I resent what you're implying. There was nothing sordid about this relationship. You're trying to make it sound like something it wasn't. I want you to stop it. Do you hear me? Stop it.
You may continue your questioning, Mr. Giannetta.
Your Honor, I'm going to be as brief as I possibly can. Mrs. Hodges, did your daughter ever go to Mr. Benson's home alone?
Sometimes.
Did Kim ever spend the night at Mr. Benson's?
Would you answer the question, please?
Did your daughter ever spend the night at Mr. Benson's home alone?
Yes.
Mrs. Hodges, you testified earlier that when you left town because of your mother's illness, you asked Mr. Benson if Kim might spend the night there. Now, did you feel that was in any way an unusual request?
No.
In fact, Mr. Benson's housekeeper was there, was she not?
Yes, she was. And there had been a series of recent burglaries in our neighborhood, and Kim was a little frightened of staying in our house alone. So I asked Mike if she could spend the night there. I thought she would be safer there than anywhere else I could think of.
Did you have occasion to speak to your daughter that evening?
Yes, I called her from Los Angeles.
Did she seem in any way troubled, apprehensive?
Only in that she was concerned about my mother.
Nothing else?
No.
Did she ever refer to that night again?
In passing, she said Mike had been very understanding.
Now, did you ever have second thoughts or misgivings about your decision to let your daughter stay at Mr. Benson's?
None whatsoever.
Do you consider yourself a naive person?
No.
And yet you must be aware that some people would consider your decision naive or perhaps even irresponsible.
I'm not accustomed to making decisions on the basis of what other people may say or think. I knew my daughter, and I know Mr. Benson. The thought of any impropriety never entered my mind.
Had you ever observed suggestive behavior between your daughter and Mr. Benson?
No, never.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Mr. Mason, how much time would you say elapsed between the time you saw Mr. Benson enter the boathouse and the time he left?
Oh, hour or so.
You're sure it was the same man?
Yeah.
Couldn't have been someone else?
No.
How far were you from the boathouse when you saw Mr. Benson?
Oh, 100 feet or so.
And were you wearing your glasses at the time?
No.
But you do wear glasses, sir.
Yeah, but how did you know?
Little indentations on the bridge of the nose. Quite common with people who wear glasses. Do you wear them for reading, sir?
No, for distance.
Then you're nearsighted.
Yeah.
No further questions.
Miss Flood, you were Mr. Benson's housekeeper for 9 years. Is that true?
Yes.
Why did you leave him?
I was disturbed by what was happening in the house.
Would you mind elaborating on that?
Between Mr. Benson and the girl.
Kim Hodges?
Yes.
What was going on?
They were lovers.
They were lovers.
Yes.
Miss Flood, could you tell us exactly how you know that's to be the case?
I was a housekeeper. Housekeepers have eyes and ways of knowing what went on in certain rooms.
That is a lie.
She is fabricated.
Miss Flood, were you happy during your employment with Mr. Benson?
I suppose so.
Were you happy when he announced that he was going to marry Nancy Hodges?
I don't understand the question.
Well, it's very simple, really. Were you pleased with the news? Disappointed?
Why would I be disappointed?
Perhaps you could tell us.
Objection, Your Honor. People fail to see where all this is leading us.
To the truth, I hope.
I'll permit this line of questioning, up to a point. Objection overruled. Try not to wander too far afield, Mr. Marshall.
Now, Miss Flood, what were your feelings toward Mr. Benson?
I don't know what you mean by feelings.
Well, did you like him?
I never thought about it.
You worked for a man for nearly 9 years, and you never thought about whether you liked him or not?
He didn't bother me none.
He didn't notice you?
I was just a hole in the air.
Not like Mrs. Hodges?
Oh, he noticed her all right. His eyes lit up like candles every time she came in the room.
But that didn't happen with you?
Well, I'm not a pretty woman. I didn't expect him to look at me like that. I would have been happy if things had gone on just the way they had, but...
But they couldn't because of Mrs. Hodges?
She poisoned his life.
Not Kim?
Kim, no, not her, the mother. Nothing was ever the same after he met her. Not him, the house, nothing.
But
But she never told you why she was frightened.
No, just that she was afraid to be alone with Mr. Benson.
What was your reaction to this?
I didn't give it as much credence as perhaps I should have.
How long did you know Kim?
Nearly 2 years.
Was she in the habit of confiding in you?
Sometimes, if something were troubling her, some problem at school.
Did she often have problems at school?
No, not often.
How would you describe Kim?
Kim was a very special person. Innocent. I don't know how to describe her, really. Alive, vital, like a flower growing before rude hands have touched it. It's a terrible loss. She had so much to live for.
Your Honor, I have still a number of questions to ask of this witness, which will probably take some time. In view of the lateness of the hour, I would like to request that court be recessed until tomorrow.
Very well. The jury is reminded not to discuss this case among themselves or with anyone else. This court will reconvene tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Oh, we scored points all right. But the preponderance of physical evidence, the contact lens, Mike's blood type, place Mike at the scene of the crime. And Nancy's admission that Kim spent the night at Mike's home. Well,
I recommend the strudel.
oh, by the way, I thought that was a very nifty piece of business, your cross-examination of the caretaker.
Oh, thanks, but I'll take my bows after Mike's acquitted.
How do you read the jury?
Oh, I gave up trying to read juries a long time ago. And Charlie still hasn't called all his witnesses.
You mean the boyfriend, John Boyd?
His testimony, and Professor Hayes, that Kim was scared to death of Mike. Now, that's bound to make a jury think. Because somebody murdered Kim, and they know that. And no matter how much we chip away at the testimony, Mike is still the accused. Danny, do you think there's any chance of Fern Robbins coming forward?
I wouldn't hold my breath.
Well, it's always darkest before it's pitch black.
You're such a comfort.
Well, I was just trying to lighten the mood.
Listen to this. Have you seen but a bright lily grow before rude hands have touched it? Sound familiar?
That's Hayes' description of Kim.
Except that Ben Johnson said it first.
I'm lost.
Well, we've always assumed that the book of Elizabethan poetry found at the crime scene belonged to Kim. But what if it didn't? What if it belonged to the murderer? Would you care to examine this, please?
Yes, it's the text I teach on Elizabethan poetry in my seminar.
Yes, that's true. But it's also People's Three, the book found at the crime scene where Kim Hodges was murdered.
Kim's book?
No. We've asked handwriting experts to compare notations made in that text with samples of Kim's handwriting, and the results show that they are not the same. Now, in view of this, would you care to examine the book again to see if you can identify it?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Your Honor, with the court's indulgence, I believe relevance will become clear shortly.
Yes, I'll allow this. Objection overruled.
Well, as I said before, it's the text I teach on Elizabethan poetry.
Beyond that, do you recognize the book?
No, I'm sorry.
May I read from page 173 of your testimony before the court yesterday? I don't know how to describe her really. Alive, vital, like a flower growing before rude hands have touched it. Do you remember saying that?
Yes, I do.
Then underlined in this book of Elizabethan poetry found at the crime scene, the same quote. Have you seen but a bright lily grow before rude hands have touched it? Professor Hayes, is this your book?
No, my book's at home.
How long have you had it?
Years.
Did you buy a similar one on October the 23rd?
No.
Your Honor, I ask that this sales slip be marked for identification as Defense Exhibit B. It's a sales slip from the campus bookstore for the purchase of Randall's Text on Elizabethan Poetry, made out to Professor Nelson Hayes on October 23rd, 2 days after the death of Kim Hodges. Did you forget about buying that book, Professor?
Yes.
Now, can you tell us what happened to your old book?
The witness will answer the question.
I lost it.
When did you lose it?
I don't remember.
Where did you lose it?
I don't know.
Isn't it true that you lost that book at the boathouse?
No.
When you followed Kim there?
No.
And raped and murdered her?
No! I didn't want to hurt her. She kept screaming. I couldn't stop her.
Professor Hayes, I must caution you.
I was frightened. I was so frightened. I didn't mean to kill her. It didn't hurt the others. No, they never resisted, and I didn't have to. Hurt them.
Hello, Frida.
Hello.
Oh, very pretty. You've had your hair done.
I found a new hairdresser.
Don't tell me your secrets. It spoils the magic.
Oh, Mr. Marshall, Mike Benson and Nancy Hodges are in your office.
He made a full confession. There were 2 other girls, and they both left campus.
But why didn't they say anything?
Oh, fear of retribution, the humiliation they feel they're going to have to face, whispered comments. Had they both come forward, that would have stopped him right there. I wonder why so many women, good, well-meaning women, are so ill-advised at a time like that.
What do you think will happen to him?
Oh, he'll be tried and sentenced.
What are your plans, Mike?
I really don't know. I'm not even sure whether I'm the same man that this lady fell in love with.
I'll take my chances.
Mr. T here. Sometimes good TV is easy as ABC. A for A-Team, B for B.A. Baracus, and C for See Us Go to Work Next right here in TV Land.